Good afternoon. Welcome to the Big Dam. It's your boy Bobby Hill. Hope you're having a good weekend. Hope everything's going well for you. Hope you one step closer to your goals in life. Right? I'll start out. I talked about it, at the end of my last show. I just wanted to give first of all, I'll give a shout out to my lovely wife, Sandra Hill. She's the reason why I'm doing this. I say it every time. She's my backbone, my support system while I'm doing this endeavor. And, I always like to show love, and it's always going to be like that. Next, I like to, I talked about at the end of my last show, and I get a chance to talk about a little bit more where I wanted. Just wanted to, give a rest in peace to my classmate, you know, and give, my condolences to his family, Brent Gale. I've known him since he was I think I was about 6 years old. I met him through. I think we went to school. We didn't ever have. I don't think we had classes together growing up, like in elementary school. But I met him through baseball, playing Pee Wee baseball for the rec league. When I first started playing, I first started, you know, playing sport. 5 years old, we played baseball, and fortunately, that just happened sometimes. When I first started playing, I just happened to be on the best team, and we won the championship. We won every game, won the championship. My first year ever playing sports, so I thought it was going to be like that a lot. So the next year, we we were still good. We went all the way back to the championship, but we went. It was a year later, so another team came up in championship, and they beat the brakes off. They beat us real good. And Brent was on that team. And Brent was, he was pretty good. He was a good player. He was just, I think he was like 6 years old, six, I think six. Somebody. He was, doing his thing. He was always been pretty good in baseball. But I remember him, and they beat us pretty good. And I just remember, seeing his bigger brother, his older brother Mike, telling you, man, it was just reminded me that they whooped our butt at that time when we was younger. So yeah, I've known him for a long time. Like I said, he's been a good guy. I don't ever remember me and Brent arguing or having any let's say disagreement, but not having any like confrontation or anything. I don't remember Brent having any confrontation with anybody as far as when he played sports. He played football. I mean, it was intense out there, but I never seen Brent. I never known Brent in my life. I can't remember if it happened. I didn't remember. Don't remember Brent ever having any kind of, you know, altercation, any kind of like fight, or somebody saying, I want to fight Brent Yell. No, I've never heard them words. I've never heard that sentence before. I want to fight Brent Yell. Yeah, because they wasn't that. I'm saying he wasn't that type of person. Man. He was easygoing person. To me, he was an easygoing person, easy to get along with, man. And we joked around, we laughed and stuff, and like the kids did, you know. But yeah, I got along with his older brother was a year ahead of me. Husani Gale, shout out to my man, shout out to you, Kudwa. But yeah, my heart, my condolences. I know it's hard in this time, man. Just shout out to Michael Yale. Just y'all stay strong, man. Be there for your mom. Shout out to Miss Brenda Buchanan. You know, she had three. Raised three. Handsome young men. And I feel for her, she having to bury one of her sons. Life shouldn't be like that, man. You shouldn't have to bury your kids. Your kids should be, in the words of Denzel Washington, John Q. You don't bury your kids. Your kids supposed to bury you. That's the way life's supposed to go. So, my sister had to go through that burying her child. So it just, it's my heart goes out to her and having to bury her child. It's just unimaginable what they're going through. And I just don't want to take time out to just saying how much it hurt, much it hit home that happened, because we know somebody when you were little and they're gone. It's just, some it's you know what I'm saying. It's hard to think about it sometimes, hard to imagine it, but just reality of life sometimes. Life ultimately for all of us will come to an end sometime. So it's just, yeah, like I said, makes you, it humbles you. It humbles you, and and then in a way, it may humbles and it puts things in perspective. You know, makes you realize what's important in life, like what is really in the end, what is really things that you're gonna remember. All this stuff, all these, all these beefs, all this, aggression, animosity, on the other end, all this, people trying to get money, trying to accumulate, all these possessions and all these things and stuff like that. At the end, none of that matters at the end. Like sometimes just being able to, sometimes at the end, just being able to recognize who your family is sometimes the most important thing in life to you at that moment. Not about what you did in your life, not how many, how much money you made, how many awards you accumulated, how many trophies or titles or whatever you done, certificates, diplomas, degrees you done got in your life. At the end, sometimes none of that matters. Just the fact that you can recognize your kids when they walk into the room, you know? So it's just, like I said, just, makes you think about stuff. It makes you realize what's really important, and especially as you get older and stuff. When we're young, we think about what we see. We're very impressionable. We see people on TV with stuff, and that's what we want to do. We see, back when I was growing up, it was like basically like rappers. Whatever rappers wore, you know, especially with New York rappers, whatever New York rappers wore or whatever style they had, it felt like we had to, keep up with that style. But at the end, none of that means nothing. None of that means nothing. None of that means, damn thing. And that was a nice segue. Speaking of New York, I don't know, man. Just my attitude about New York has changed. When I was young, I was fascinated by New York. I was fascinated by the building. I used to read a lot of encyclopedias and stuff, and it was always about New York, how it was great. So I was fascinated by it when I was young, and I always wanted to get up to there, just experiencing and stuff. 'Cause I had a vision about New York, and the way they portrayed it on TV is one way. But my father was a truck driver, and he, had truck drivers in my family. They went up to New York and all these cities, and they told me about what was going on. It was hard for me to believe at first. Like, no, I see the pictures. This and that. They're like, look, man, I see it dirty. All these cities are dirty. So once I finally got up there and stuff, I got a chance to see, and it was all right, and I got a chance to see what was going on and stuff. So with that being said, now people from New York, man, it's always I don't know, I just never been around a lot of people from New York in my life. Hell, I said two of my both of my children's mothers are from New York. One from upstate New York, one from the Bronx, New York. So I've been around New York people who familiar with New York, and they're all the same. You got this arrogance about you to think that they grew up with it. They had an arrogance about them all. Always being the biggest city, everything got Wall Street. Got all stuff that comes through New York. All this money that comes through, all entertainment, everything has to do with New York. And it breeds a certain arrogance about them. But also, especially in my community, seeing that's where hip hop originated, you know, from South Bronx. So, and they take pride in that. So, a lot of styles that came out in my community, as far as associated with hip hop, came out of New York. So, in a sense, they were like the trendsetters for our community for a long time. You know, they had a post. They determined like what young kids thought was fly. what was in style and stuff, what they saw on the music videos, what they saw on the album covers, what they saw, what they saw these, these stars wearing on where we were on television, or was on Arsenio Hall show, or whatever, on Soul Train, on Video Soul on BET, whatever you seen and whatever you saw, that's what we do, that's what we done. That's what we emulated. So they took that as a I know growing up, they always, by the way that dynamic was set up, how everything came from New York, and we sort of like learned from that and emulated that. They sort of thought they were better than us, like especially from down south. Even though their ancestors came from down south, they're probably a generation or two removed from being down south, but they up in New York, and you got that, you know, as Rakim and Nas say, that New York state of mind. So they got this arrogance about them thinking that they're better or they're up here and we're down here because we're trying to dress like them. You know, certain people in the South trying to act like them. We all know, we all got them people. They go to damn, live down south, man. They go visit their damn family for about 2 or 3 weeks up north. It don't matter, Jersey, New York, whatever. They come back. Yeah, boy, what up, man? What up, man? See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? What up, boy? What up, boy? We all know. We know it. We all know people. So, but yeah, they just thought that they're, you know, that when they come down south, they used to always act like we were slow, or like I said, we were behind in the time because where we lived at, there wasn't like I said, we stayed in a rural area. I mean, we stayed in southeast North Carolina. One of the closest. I mean, the city was Raleigh. They call it by city standard. And the closest city was Raleigh, and then you had Durham and all that. And other than that, we didn't have a lot of We didn't have a lot of gigantic population centers around us. So there wasn't a lot of So when things like the BT, when it was coming out, when it was just, I think it started in 1980. So it took a while for it to filter throughout the United States. So I guess it only started out in the big cities. So, you know, maybe it was in Charlotte, but it didn't filter its way to Southeast North Carolina. It took a long time. It took a long time. It took 10 years for it to get there. At least, maybe longer. I think maybe it took longer. But yeah, but they up north, they had all this. The only way we can get down south, you had to get one of them big ass, them big ass satellites. Look like you work for damn Shield. Like they took. You ever seen the first event that had them big Shield satellites? That's the type of satellite you had to have on your damn television with BET. So whenever like I said, whenever so they had all the video, they had everything in it. So sometimes I only access to like the culture, like our culture was sometimes people come down, they have video, they have tape, VA, because that's what we didn't have all this right here. It was VHS tape. You had to tape it, you had to record it. We have it on television and record it with a machine, a VHS. We called it a VCR, video cassette recorder. We had to record that, and then we had to tape. And then if at first they didn't make double tape then, so you had to learn. If you knew, I learned how to do it. If you knew how to record, if you knew how to wire two VCRs, you can wire them up to have one play and one record. You had to learn. You had to know how to do that stuff. One thing I had to learn how to do it because I like how to record stuff. I just, but um, our time, like I said, that was our way of getting our hands on some of the culture, some of the things that was going on in hip hop and stuff. Was when people come down, they have a tape, and the tape get passed through the neighborhood, and then it get recorded and stuff like that, and we have that's how we did. And then eventually, sometimes they'll be on Soul Train. We get to see that on Saturdays and stuff. But yes, that's how we got stuff. and the way that dynamic was set up, that allowed people from New York to call us slow, thought we were slow. So they treated us like we were slow. They thought they started treating us like we were slow until they realized that, don't take that because it's slow down here. No, that because the community, like the whole vibe is slow. Don't mean that fucking people are slow. And they found that out real quick. They found it out real quick. Got the attitudes thinking that New York just takes over everywhere. Like they have to announce themselves everywhere they go. Hey man, New York's in the house, or Bronx in the house, or whatever in the house. When they go, man, shut up, sit your ass down, brother. Eat food like everybody else. You don't care where you from, you know. But yeah, the attitude sometimes just it's a cult attitude. I don't like the way that they act like in these finals, man. They act so. I understand you have a championship drought, and for some reason New York feel like they are damn, birthright to have a title. Like it needs to be titles in New York. No, it don't. If you get enough, good enough. If you don't, that's fine. It'll be somewhere. It don't always have to be New York. But like I said, the way they're acting, the way they come across, man, was very like shameful. I think it was how they come across is very attacking people, man, over a game, man. It's just so stupid, man. Just so stupid. Just so stupid. I think it's stupid for you to be riding after championships and then you burning the neighborhood. That's stupid. You start attacking people because they support their team, man. You see videos, man, and it's stupid. And the thing is, yes, it's only like one or two people that's doing the videos I see. It probably more. There's only a few people that are actually physically assaulting people, but it's just the way they surround people, man, and intimidate people. Like that's the thing that gets on me. You know how you sit up there fucking bullying people out here, man. It's trying to enjoy a game and come home and support their team just like y'all are, man. And you act like that when they come to your place. It's just and like and people don't make a big deal out of it, man. They're like, oh, just New Yorkers, they start making excuses for them. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. But yeah, that's I was talking like I do. I was out this morning doing out here, and I was talking to the. I had my we got this other shirt. It's a Wemby shirt. You can see you got number one on it. They got you can see you got Wemby in the back. But yeah, we talk, people just come up and talk to me. They see me with the shirt on. They come up and talk to me, so they automatically ask me about the game and stuff. Like, you think we can win, think all that. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, because I said all these four games that's been played, I ain't there. Every game, San Antonio has been the better team. They just made mistakes at the end. They made mistakes and couldn't close it. But throughout the game, they're always been the better team. So it ain't that they can't. It's just they need to damn do. I don't know, man. The coach, everybody. I see people online, everything. They getting their feelings about Mitch Johnson and Darren Fox because they're like I said, Mitch Johnson still, he's standing by his player with a mistake and everything, and they're not listening online and listen to that chatter and stuff, which is BS. They listen to some. They listen to some of it. They don't say they don't listen to human nature. You listen a little bit. They said they might not consume themselves with it, but I bet they listen to it a little bit. But man, I mean, my thing is this, man. He just got to do better, man. You both have, like I said, you got, you down by 1 point, and you should have a play. You got a 7-4 tree trunk. You got a 7-4 tree out there. Why can't you park that man somewhere close to that rim and throw that ball out there and let him you go there and get it? Ain't nobody gonna get up higher than him. He's 7'4". You don't have to jump that high. You're always tall. You're already taller than everybody. Put him up there and give him a chance to tap it in or something, get fouled, do something. It's better. I mean, you don't have no kind of like it was. Like I said, it's been twice in this series. You lost the game on the last second shot, and both times you had both times the play looked like something like it wasn't looked like a play that was drawn up in practice. It looked like some freestyle stuff, man. I mean, and that's why I think sometimes situational basketball, sometimes you got to, you know, I don't know, something. I mean, you had other man. You're not going to use all these people out here. You got all these wing people, out here standing around doing nothing, man. Put some big bodies in there to I don't know. Maybe they can do a screen for Wemby and get him open for a split second and get a tap in. Do something, man. You got to be creative, man. You got to do. It's a championship, man. You got to go into the trick bag, and see what's going on. I mean, something. Saying that this ain't this, they are too good to be looking like this at the end of games. They're too talented to be looking like this at the end of games. Like I said, you got a veteran. You got Harrison Barnes who got championship rings down there, man. Let that man come. Maybe he could have settled it down and got everything settled down. You got to try something, man. You can't just sit here and watch his team come back and be like, oh, I hope they play their way out of it. Oh, look like they're likely going to play their way out of it. And they don't play the way out of it. I mean, like I said, that reminds me of them. That reminds me of Roy Williams in Carolina. That was the frustrating thing about Roy Williams. He was a great coach, man. He won a lot of titles. He was a great coach, won a lot of games. He retires one of the greatest ever. But he had a thing about him that he did not call timeout because he wanted to be like Dean Smith. And Dean Smith had a way. Like I said, he had a better team because that the players stayed longer. So he had a system and players. They had a lot more veteran players to help them, overcome, and so they could play their way out of it. But this wasn't them. So Roy Williams used to sit there and try to let these Carolina get a big lead and stuff, and a team would come out and just go on the run, and he would not call a timeout. There'll be, let's say, Carolina winning by 25 points. He won't call a damn timeout till Carolina is losing by 3. That's Roy Williams. I've seen it. I've seen him do it. I mean, he sit there and let that team blow them out before he calls a timeout. He'll let that team come back. And that was my thing with him. Like I said, great coach, man, great guy. He does, like I said, he seemed like a wonderful man and stuff. But that was my thing with him. But yeah, that's my problem with Mitch Johnson, man. He just, I don't know, man. Just situational coaching, man. I think that's his weakness. Use his bench and use these damn players, man. It don't matter if you have to bench damn Fox to start Harper. You have to do something to spark something on this team, man. I'm saying you can't be having. This is the finals, man, and people say you can't say, he's on there talking about support Fox. Now, yeah, you support your players. As a team, you support your players as your coach, but you acknowledge that your player fucked up. And he did. He did, and that was inexcusable for a veteran basketball player. He was a veteran NBA point guard. He's an all-star and everything. That was inexcusable. But that is why I say that De'Aaron Fox is a good player because he's in the NBA. You're not in the NBA if you're not a good player. That's period. I don't care. You don't fluke get into the NBA. You got to be a good player. You're good. So you're a good player. What I'm saying is the way he played at Sacramento, that style that he played in doesn't mesh with this system in San Antonio. You're a volume scorer, you're a volume shooter, whatever, on a bad team. Y'all get to playoff and slow seed, whatever. You can't bring that to this team right here that's established, got a system established, and then you're gonna play that same way and bring that over there, man. You got to be smart with it, man. And it reminds me of if I translate it to another sport, it reminds me of when Chad Johnson, or he calls him Ocho Cinco now, Chad Ocho Cinco. Whenever he was in Cincinnati, he was getting all he was getting the yards, touchdowns, and he was doing his thing, but he was allowed to sort of freestyle it, like go out there and just, get open. That was his get open, you know. How we start, I mean, him and his quarterback had a connection where he knew that he could get open, and that worked for them. But then he went after when when he was past his prime, he was on the downside of his career. He went to New England, and he barely touched the field because he could not get a grasp of the system that they were doing as far as the precise routing, the precise routes you have to run with Tom Brady, the precise throws and do all that. That's never been his forte. So he couldn't. He was exposed and he didn't get a chance to play. I think the system that De'Aaron Fox is working in is sort of exposing him because he gets. I just say he's quick, he's fast, he can get past his man. He can get like he got a little juke where he can got a little crossover. I seen that and it's nice. He's crossing people up. But my thing is, he gets into the paint, and then it's like he looks lost. Like he don't know what to do. Like he don't know what type of shot. Like he ain't never been there before. I'm like, and I've seen like in point guards I've seen growing up. I've seen a lot of point guards, and majority of them had a little shot. They had a teardrop, something they get in the lane can get up like a shot they can shoot to get up over a big man. They had a teardrop. They had something. Like he don't have none of that, man. It's like if he's not getting all the way to the back for a layup, he might shoot a little mid-range jumper, might, and then he'll shoot a three. But it's nothing. It always feels like it's not. I don't know, man. It don't feel like in rhythm with the offense. It just feels like I don't know. Like I said, he don't seem to me to be the type of point guard you need. He's a scoring point guard, which is fine, but you need another. At the end of the game, you need somebody that can rally the troops, somebody that knows what to do, somebody that's a coach, extension of the coach out there on the floor. That's what they need. People real quick. People always, people bring up like Chris Paul. Like they had Chris Paul, they should let Chris Paul go. True, I see Chris Paul. It could have went either way with Chris Paul. Yes, it depends on which Chris Paul you got. Depends on how you rub people. It's very rare and very likely Chris Paul could have helped them win this series right now. And very likely Chris Paul could have sabotaged his team and they could have got eliminated in the first round with Chris Paul. So I think he would have helped them in the last game, like as far as not like protecting that lead. I think Chris Paul would have helped them protect that lead. He would have had them out there. He would have made sure that they wouldn't have been out here shooting all these shots, early in the shot clock. They had no. They need somebody out there that's going to stop that. But like, look, you shooting too much, man. Come on, get down. Just get, we run our offense, get good shots. We run this clock down. You don't have to. You don't have to. It's like being up 4 touchdowns in football in the first half, and you come out in the second half, and you still out here throwing the ball, man. Still out here throwing bombs. Still out here throwing. I don't care if you're throwing short passes. When they drop the ball to stop, the clock stop. Still out here doing this, and every time that clock stops, you're giving them the defense or other team a chance to come back. Every time you shoot a shot real quick and you miss, you give the team a chance to come back. So we will see. We'll see. Me and my wife gonna watch it tonight. You know, how we do. We're gonna drink that wine. We're gonna be relaxed. We're gonna chill, watch the game, have some fun. Hopefully we come out victorious. I hope so. I think we can. We can win all three. I think with quiet confidence around here, that they could come back. But like I'm telling people around here, it's one game at a time, man. Don't think about the three games you have to win. Just think about the one game you got to win tonight. Think about it one game at a time. That's all you have to do. You can't play three games in one night. So one game at a time. uh, They can do it. Just keep doing what they're doing. Just cut down on mistakes at the end of the game, and they got it. You know. Man, the pressure's on. Yes, San Antonio got pressure, but New York got pressure too. New York got 53 years of pressure on their back. So so don't think that it's easy on them. They trying to close it. It's gonna be hard for them to make it possible for them to close. That was, they can do it. I'm trying to be hopeful, but we'll see. Like I said, we'll see. With that being said, I'd like to thank y'all for joining me on this Saturday, this rare Saturday, this rare Saturday appearance. I'm saying when I get a chance, sometimes I get a chance, have something to talk about, feel like chopping it up, I'm gonna be up there. So I'd like to thank y'all for being here with me. I hope y'all enjoy y'all weekend. I hope y'all enjoy y'all what we do. Um, let's see, I'm doing that bit. Okay. But thank y'all for coming. Thank y'all for joining. Enjoy your weekend. If y'all watching the game, enjoy the game. Be safe out there. You know, don't drink and drive. Call an Uber. They got a lot of way things. They got a lot of things out there so you can get around. Don't put yourself out here in danger. You know, do strong. Like I said in the commercials, drink responsibly. Act responsibly. Don't be out here wilding, win and lose, man. Just hope people don't be out here acting crazy. We don't need that mess, man. It's just sporting events, man. We got the World Cup out here, man. We just need to act like we got some sense out here. That's all we need to do. Win and lose, it don't matter. It's just sporting event. The sun's gonna still come out the next day. Hope everybody have a great weekend. I will see y'all Monday. Thank y'all for being here with me. As I always say, kiss your kids, kiss your loved ones, tell them you love them, tell them that you care, tell them, call them and say hello because you never know, man. You never know. It might be the last time. Might not get a chance again. Love y'all. Y'all have a great weekend. I'll see y'all Monday.